Well, would you please join me, ladies and gentlemen, in welcoming Mr. Rick Scott.
First, thank you very much for the introduction, and thanks for the invitation. It's great to be here. This is a wonderful event, and this is a great city. These are the events that decide who's going to be, the next Attorney General, the next governor of the state. And it's your actions, it's your decision to vet candidates, your decisions to get involved in campaigns, to go make telephone calls, take yard signs, walk door to door. You make the decision. And I've been running for 4 months, and these are the events that are so enjoyable to walk around and listen to all the stories and the issues that people are dealing with. So first, before I start, let me introduce my wife, Ann. We met in high school, and we've now been married for 8 years. So we have 2 wonderful daughters, one 27 years old that's married, lives in Naples, and the other one that's 25, and she lives in Washington, D.C. So, as you know, I've never run for a public office before, and I think about things like a business person. So if you were trying to get a new job and you're in business, you'd say, how do I get in front of the right people? You are the right people. How would I get in front of the right people? I would want to tell them about my background, my beliefs, the things I've done in my career, and then I'll answer questions. And that's what's happened. We've done everything from doing a bus tour across the state, so it's been very enjoyable. So here, I'll give you my background. My father was, as Anthony said, my father was a truck driver. He worked for Navajo Freight Lines. I grew up in the Midwest. And my mother did all sorts of odd jobs. She was a Chinese hostess at a Chinese restaurant, so I always had all those cracked cookies. I never liked them. I did like looking at the little things and trying to find all the positive ones and that I liked. But she worked at JCPenney as a JCPenney's clerk. She took in ironing, so we could afford groceries, all sorts of things. So my parents never had any money. There were 5 of us kids, and so all of us started out from day one working. If you go back to the 60s, truck drivers, there's no UPS or FedEx, so truck drivers are generally unemployed by Thanksgiving. So I never had a Christmas that my father had a job. And we had Christmas from firemen, we had Christmas from family members, or from friends and family members, but I had great parents. But I know exactly what it's like as I travel the state and talk to people that are scared to death because they've lost their jobs, or they have a family member that lost their jobs, or they're scared to death they're going to lose their job. So I started working at a young age. I was always very entrepreneurial. I sold TV guides door to door, if anybody can remember when those were sold door to door. I got paid 6 cents a TV guide. They sold for 15 cents. Nobody paid in advance. So you never left them at a house because you might not get paid. I cleaned telephone booths. I was a 85-cent an hour fry cook. I delivered newspapers for a penny paper. I had a yard route. I worked for years in the grocery store business. I could have won the Price is Right because I knew exactly. You remember that show? Everything costs. I met my wife in high school. Her father moved there. He worked with Sunshine Biscuits, and that's probably the best thing that's happened to me in my life because we've had a wonderful marriage. We both, when we got out of high school, we went to community college, and then I joined the United States Navy, and I was served on a destroyer escort as a radarman. The second worst job besides cleaning telephone booths was, as an enlisted person, you don't just get to do the fun things. You also have to clean latrines and things like that. And that part wasn't very much fun either. But I got to see the world, and I got to learn a lot more about America from meeting people all across the country. So once I got out of the service, we got married while I was in the service. And probably the only reason we stayed married is because I was out to sea 18 of the first 24 months. So I could grow up a little bit. My wife was always much smarter than I was. So I got out of service. We both went back to college and worked full time. By then, my father was disabled, and so we'd saved some money, and we bought a donut shop for my mom to run. And it's surprising how much numbers have changed. This was like 1974, I think. And we started out, revenues were at $143 a day. So we did well. I figured out is you don't sell donuts. If you sell donuts based on who walks in every day, you don't make a lot of money. So I went out and I sold it to all the airlines, the hotels and everything. And by the end of the first month, my mom told me don't sell one more donut because she had to start cooking at 8 o'clock at night, or baking at 8 o'clock at night. So after we did that, we saved our money and eventually got into the hospital business. We saved our life savings, $125,000, And we thought there was an opportunity to build a hospital company that could drive down the cost of healthcare, improve outcomes, and improve patient satisfaction. Our third hospital is right here in Miami. We bought in 1988, Victoria Hospital. I know hopefully many of you remember that. We put up right after we purchased, we put up the largest American flag in Miami, and I think it's still there. So over the next 9 years, we built it to 343 hospitals, 135 surgery centers. We took care of 100,000 patients a day, and we had 285,000 employees. So when anyone talks about how you build companies or build private sector jobs, that's what I've done my entire life. From the time I was selling TV guides, I know how to work and build companies. So after I got out of the hospital business, I've done a variety of other companies, including manufacturing companies, the first healthcare cable channel ever. So I know exactly what it's like when you talk about companies that are competing, like many of you are, with companies overseas. Because these manufacturing companies that I own, they're competing with companies in China and India and Europe, and there's all these companies always struggle to make sure they have to be better than everybody else to keep these jobs in America. So the most recent company I started was a company in Florida called Solantic, and we have 34 urgent care centers, and we are 1/6 the cost of an ER visit for the same service if you have insurance, and less than 1/10 if you don't. And if you don't feel well in 3 days, you can come back for free. And that's how I think about healthcare. You ought to be transparent, you should know exactly what things cost, and you ought to have some guarantees, and that's how I think about it. The other things you should know about me, besides my business background, is I'm across the board conservative. I grew up in the Methodist church, my wife grew up in the Baptist church, and my mom was pretty tough. We went to church all the time, and so I accepted Jesus Christ into my life at a very young age. And I absolutely, if you look at my life, I've been blessed. So I believe I'm absolutely pro-life. I'll be a pro-life governor. I believe in the Second Amendment. I got an A rating from the National Rifle Association. I believe in marriages between a man and a woman. I believe in the sanctity of life. So those things I believed in from the time I sort of was just growing up, going to church. All those things, from going to church to being an Eagle Scout, all those things you get ingrained in you, and that's how I've led my life. Now let's think about where we are in Florida. We have the highest unemployment on record. More people leaving our state than coming into our state. We've got almost 50% of our homeowners underwater on their mortgages. So we have got to change how we look at things. If we keep doing the same thing and don't think about how does government really work, what should we be doing, what should we be doing, how can we do it better, we're never going to change our state. Now, do we have opportunity in the state? You better believe it. The best beaches in the country, the best weather in the country. You travel the state, it's just like Miami. It's full of entrepreneurs. People that want to be independent. They don't want to be dependent on government. They want to build their businesses, whether it's building a business of 2 people or building a business of 200,000 people. This state is full of entrepreneurs. We don't have an income tax. We're a right-to-work state. We do have a big deficit coming up, but we have the opportunity to do anything we want. Peter Drucker's quote, the best quote is, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." If we do what we're supposed to do over the next 4 years, we will make this the state to do business. And by making this state to do business, we'll be able to make sure we can do the right things for education. Make sure we can pay the best teachers the best. Make sure that we can create a voucher program so any parent can have their children go to any school they want to go to, instead of being forced to go to a school that the government tells you to go to. So we have got to create a different state. So we put out a plan 2 weeks ago, 777. 7 steps, 700,000 jobs over 7 years. It starts with accountability budget. We're going to go through every state agency and see what should we be doing, what shouldn't we be doing. The things we shouldn't be doing, we will stop. We'll stop wasting your tax dollars. We'll go through and figure out how can we save money. No different than what you have to do in companies. You know the first 10 rules of business, don't run out of cash. So we're going to figure out how we can drive down the cost of state government that way. Second, if you look historically, the states that have smaller state government versus the size of the private sector grow jobs. The states that grow the size of state government versus the size of the private sector lose jobs. Our state government has exploded the last 4 years. Third, travel the state. Every company in the state is dealing with regulation. It's either regulations that don't make any sense, They're not helping consumers. Delays, paperwork that you have no idea whether anybody even looks at it or not, and uncertainty. All that does is kill job growth. So we're going to freeze regulation, and we're going to go through every agency and see what we can get rid of, and get rid of everything we can. Fourth, I built private sector jobs. I know exactly what it's like. I will be the Chief Economic Development Officer for the state. I will make sure that business people in the state know that this is the state they want to do business in. They'll be able to expand their businesses, grow their businesses, keep their businesses here, and I'll travel the country and the world to talk other companies into moving here. This is all I've done in my whole career, is talk to people about how to put things together in win-win propositions, and that's what I'll do. Next, great companies often are built around great universities. But those universities have to have the research dollars to continue to be wonderful universities. You look around this country, there's many cities that have grown just because of great universities. We'll put the money in to make sure we fund the research in universities so we can grow companies around those universities. Next, we'll cut the property tax rate by 19%, and we're going to phase out the business tax. We will make, within 4 years, this the state to do business. And if we do that, we will have the lowest unemployment rate in the country, and we will have the state to do business in. Now, here's what people, if people have known me for a period of time, if they say anything about me, they'll say 4 things. I'll always take a position. Whatever, I'll take a position on anything after I've had time to research it, and I'll stand for that position. I'm very passionate about my positions. Third, I like to work. I've worked my entire life. I'll never become a great golfer because I enjoy working. I enjoy getting up every day and seeing what I can make happen. And the last thing is, I'll stand up for whatever I believe in. When President Barack Obama got elected, you could see exactly where healthcare was going. It was going to be a government-run program, no different than the UK or Canada. It would be, the government would, and this is, every government program in the world does the same thing. They overpromise, they run out of money, and then they ration your care. Every program. So we put together a group called Conservatives for Patients' Rights. I funded in the beginning, then we raised capital. We ran ads nationwide saying, we've said, these are the things you should do, and they're all free market principles if you want lower healthcare costs and more people to have healthcare in our country. The first thing we did is we did a documentary on the UK and the Canadian healthcare system, and these are the stories. Dr. Carol Sikora, an oncologist in the UK, said if you're 70 years old, we don't even tell you the treatment options because we know the government won't pay for it. Debbie Hurst gets breast cancer. Common drug in America is Avastin. No, it's too expensive in the UK. So she doesn't get it and she passes away. Katie Brickle, 19 years old, goes to have her first pap smear test. The government says, no, you don't get it until you're 21. She goes back at 21, says, no, we just changed it to 25. Even though 65 women in the UK get cervical cancer before the age of 25 every year, it's less expensive for them to get the cancer than to pay for the inexpensive test. She goes back at 23, and she now has terminal cervical cancer. So we did a documentary, and then we put out our pillars, and then we ran national ads to say, this is what should happen, this is what shouldn't happen. Robert Gibbs, President Barack Obama's press secretary, attacked me personally because we had such an impact. We killed the public option, and we should have won the entire bill if we had elected more principled politicians, but we didn't. So here's my commitment to you. I will always stand up for whatever I believe in. I'll stand up for states' rights. I'll stand up for the rights of anybody, whether it's the health care bill or whether it's marriage between a man and woman, the unborn. I will stand up for the things I believe in. So I'd like to ask for all your support. Tell you if you support me, here's my commitment. I will bring my 35 years of business experience to the table to create jobs. I'll do everything I do with common sense, and I'll do it for the benefit of taxpayers, and I'll do it for the benefit of families. I've had an unbelievable life, and I'm running for this position because I want everybody, including my daughters, my son-in-laws, my grandchildren eventually, don't have any yet, and everybody I know and all the Floridians to have the same dream I had. Work your tail off, save your money, take risk, maybe you succeed, no government guarantees. If you don't, you do it again and again and again until you succeed. That's why we live in America, and that's what we want in America. And that's my commitment. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here.